Hey, everybody. Hi. We have the author Bobby Owsinski here with us today, and he brought along his book, Music 3.0. So I guess my first question, Bobby, is what is Music 3.0? What does that mean?
Music 3.0 is the fifth generation of the music business. Music 1.0, the first generation, was, the music business at its peak from the 60s into the 70s. And what would happen, the artist was disconnected from the fan, had to go through a record label. Record stores sold everything. The record labels were owned by entrepreneurs, by music entrepreneurs, and radio played a big part in promotion. Music 1.5 was when the entrepreneurs were bought out by the multinational conglomerates. So suddenly everybody was looking at the bottom line rather than looking at artist development. And as a matter of fact, this is when MTV comes along as well. And MTV changes the way we look at music, because now it's not music or artist development, music development, it's artist image development. Music 2.0 is when we first get digital music. But the problem is, even though we have MP3s now, the music labels, the record labels were for the most part very complacent about it. They didn't much care. Music 2.5 changes everything because iTunes and Amazon MP3 comes in and now you can monetize it. Music 3.0 changes everything because it's the first time when the fan can actually reach out and touch the artist, and the artist can reach out and touch the fan. And it's important because now the artist can actually sell to the fan, market to the fan, communicate with the fan, and it never happened before.
So essentially, in Music 3.0, the artist has a lot of the power over their career to make a lot of the decisions and also a lot of the responsibilities.
That's the problem. There's a lot of responsibility, there's so much responsibility that a lot of artists can't handle it. But in fact, if you know how to do it, and if you can handle that responsibility, then it's fairly easy for you to do a good job at building your audience, at communicating with your audience, at selling to your audience.
Yeah, so I'm sure there are a lot of facets to Music 3.0. Tell me a little bit about the different areas that you cover, the different areas that are important for artists to know about in this new music industry.
Well, the first thing is marketing, and marketing yourself. And one of the ways that you do that, obviously online is what we're talking about. We're not so much talking about the physical market, we're talking about online, is your website. It's the primary part of what you're supposed to be doing in order to touch that fan. And a lot of artists kind of forget about that and think more about, well, I'll be on MySpace, I'll be on Facebook. Yes, those are important, but your website, you can control the message a lot easier. The second part is the mailing list. And this is where everybody kind of forgets about and falls down. The mailing list is really important because what you want to do is you want to capture the mailing address, the email addresses from all of your fans, MySpace, Facebook, Twitter, anywhere you can, on all the social networks. You want to combine them into one master email list. So when you actually reach out and touch that fan, it's very easy for you to do. And it's very easy for you to track everything because that's also important. Measurement is a big important part of everything as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So an interesting thing that we were talking about a little bit earlier is that not only do we need to concentrate on our online presence, but also we need to maintain that physical product that goes along with your music.
Yeah, physical product. CDs aren't going away for a while. Everybody thinks that the CD is dead, and maybe it's going to be, but it isn't today. It isn't right now. And as a matter of fact, it still legitimizes you as an artist. You can't get a review in a lot of places unless you have a CD still. And I have personal proof of this. I produced a band called Snoo. I just did their second record. The first record we did a couple years ago. And when we were producing the record, I said, let's just release a couple MP3s at a time, which is a good way to do it. But they said, we need that record. We need the CD. I said, well, okay, guys, but they knew their audience. And in the hard rock area, metal, there's a lot more of the audience that buys CDs than actually downloads anything. Contemporary Christian is another place where that happens a lot. But the other thing that happened was, while we were releasing MP3s, they couldn't get reviews anywhere. As soon as they had the physical product, reviews everywhere, overseas, domestically, broadcast radio, internet radio, everywhere. It didn't have it before the physical product. So it's still important, and you still have to consider it. The difference is the way you release things might be different, where now people are thinking, I will spend the whole year working on my record. And that's not really a great idea. You're better off to release a song or two every quarter, every 6 weeks, something like that. And the reason why, you want to stay in front of your fans. You don't want them to forget you, and you want to get their feedback. And at the end of the cycle, when you do 10 songs or 12 songs, you put it together, and then you sell your CD.
Absolutely.
That's the best way to do it.
Yeah. So we were also talking a little bit earlier about how Music 3.0 is really a great time to be a songwriter still.
Yeah, as bad as the music business, the recording business seems to be, and it is, it's not like it used to be, the publishing business is still very strong. And people are still making a lot of money in publishing. They're making it in a different way. They're not making it necessarily in large chunks like they did before. They're making a lot of small chunks in a lot of different places. But it's still very, very healthy. It's a healthy part of the business, maybe the only healthy part of the business. Yeah.
So it sounds like in Music 3.0 there's a lot of different areas and you need to cover all your bases, but we have a guidebook right here. Tell me a little bit about your history in the music industry. Where did you learn all of this?
I had my first record deal when I was 16 years old, and my second when I was 19. They're both with major labels at the time, which are no longer major labels today. Things have changed. And then I realized that I liked being a musician, but I wanted to be a producer. So I went to Berklee College of Music to get my chops together. Found out that, in fact, you don't necessarily need those kind of chops to be a great producer. But while I was there, since I already had a degree in electronics and I had a lot of studio experience, they made me a teacher. So I was a teacher at Berklee for a couple of years. Then when I left and came out here, I produced a lot of the great blues acts, Willie Dixon and Joe Houston and some real classic blues guys like that. And then I toured with them for a while as a guitar player. And then I also started to do a lot of surround sound mixing, where I did surround mixes for Iron Maiden and Todd Rundgren, and some posthumous things for, I think I did Rainbow Bridge, the Jimi Hendrix record. I did The Who, some people like that. So while I was doing that, I started to do a lot of secondary interviews for DVDs, because these were all for music DVDs. And that led to producing 2 music television shows. One is called Guitar Universe, and the other one is called Desert Island Music. And Desert Island Music is music celebrities talking about the songs that changed their lives. And in the meantime, I was always writing. So my first book came out in 1999. It was the Mixing Engineer's Handbook. And I've gone on to write the Recording Engineer's Handbook, Mastering Engineer's Handbook, How to Make Your Band Sound Great, Drum Recording Handbook, and a couple more I can't think of right off the top of my head. And a few more coming out, too.
So many books, you can't even remember them all.
There's a lot of them, yeah.
And a lot of those interviews that you were just talking about, some of them are included in the book. Tell me a little bit about some of the people who you talked to in the book.
Yeah, my books are kind of unique because a third of them have interviews with people that are a lot smarter than I. With some, people that are tops in the field that are real experts that I've learned a lot from. And this book is no exception. There's 12 interviews, I think, with people that are at the top of their game in different parts of Music 3.0. One, for instance, is Gregory Markell, and he's the search engine king. So he tells everything about SEO, search engine optimization, how to do that in your website, on your MySpace page, on YouTube, things like that, which is very cool. Another one is Michael Turpin. Michael Turpin is the king of social media PR, besides Ariel Hyatt anyway.
She's the queen.
She's
He's
the queen,
king.
yeah. And Michael Turpin does social media marketing and social media PR for, like, he did Live Aid and Live 8 and stuff like that, Live 8. Another one is Rupert Perry, who's in there. Rupert Perry was the chairman of EMI for a while. He's the president of EMI and the president of Capitol Records and an A&R guy. And it's really interesting because he contrasts what it was like when he first started as an A&R guy at Capitol in the 70s to where it is now. And believe it or not, it hasn't changed that much because even though we're in a completely different era, he was saying that if he was going to start again, it would be the same thing. It would be basically two guys selling records out of the back of their truck, or back of the trunk. Only now it's two guys in a office that are selling MP3s. But it's basically the same idea.
Yeah, that's kind of interesting. It's interesting to hear that there are ways that the music industry hasn't changed.
Yeah.
But, well, you know, because it seems like we face every day all the ways that it has.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So I know that you have a section in here on how artists today are making their money in the music industry, and I'm sure that's something that everyone's curious about. Where are people making money in the music industry now?
Well, there's two places to really make money. And if you can't make it on CDs, you have to make it on touring and on swag. Now, music is sort of a lost leader in Music 3.0, unfortunately. Music is your marketing. You might think that's a unique situation, but it's really always been that way because even back in the 50s, you were giving away your music on radio. So now with radio being less important, you're giving it away on your website or you're giving it away whatever. You may make a little bit of money on MP3 downloads and streams and stuff, very little money on streams. And you may make it on CDs, but you really make it on swag, merchandise, and you really make it on touring. So you do have to get out there and do the heavy lifting. There are individual artists that can actually make a good living just selling their music and MP3s. Yeah, the other place also is in music publishing. There's just a great panel on music libraries, and that's a really big business, and a lot of artists are realizing they can repurpose their music for a library and potentially make a whole lot more money than they ever could in anything else, any other place in the music business.
Yeah, and that might be something that people have some questions about how you get into in the first place. It's something that you might be interested in, but you might not completely understand how to get started.
Yeah. Well, there's a couple ways to get started. I mean, the first thing is to contact one of the many, many music libraries, and they're always looking for new writers, and they're looking for two different things. They're looking for people that are incredibly unique, have a completely different sound, and they're also looking for people that sound a whole lot like somebody who's happening now. So it was interesting because in the panel they were saying that now the big thing is everybody's saying, give me something that sounds like Lady Gaga. And that happens whenever there's somebody new, a new trend. It was, the Chemical Brothers. You want Chemical Brothers or something. So,
yeah.
So you can make it one way or the other. But there's a lot of libraries out there, and you can do it by yourself. But it's a lot easier with the library, and it's a lot cheaper as well.
That's really interesting.